I'd like to call this meeting of the Carpentersville Village Board to order. Terry, could you please call the roll for us?
Trustee Burroway.
Here.
Trustee Stevens.
Here.
Trustee Humper.
Here.
Trustee Savi.
Here.
Trustee Ritter.
Here.
Trustee Schultz.
Here.
Here. We'll rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for an invocation from Pastor Ball, Faith Walk Harvest Church. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Ball?
Good evening. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we do thank you today for your goodness, for your mercy and your love. And Father, we just are grateful for this day that you've allowed us to see and to live. And Lord God, to just observe your greatness. So tonight we just ask that your presence will be upon our meeting, that you would bless our agenda and all those involved in this meeting. And God, at the end, your name will be glorified. And we pray all these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, we have no proclamations, congratulatory resolutions, or awards. We do have a number of appointments, though, this evening. The first would be appointment of Trustee Pat Schultz as chairman of the Village Special Events Commission. We just did that last meeting. We enacted the Special Events Commission. I'd need a motion.
I'll motion.
Motion Kevin, second Ginger. Any comments or discussion? If not, Terry, call the roll.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes. Can I vote for myself?
Yes, you can.
Oh, okay. Yes. yeah, that's right.
If you don't, you might lose. You never know.
yeah, right.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Humper.
Yes.
Trustee Savi.
Yes.
Trustee Ritter.
Yes.
Okay, then the next would be a number of commission members. And I would, unless there's an objection by the board, take these as a group. Appointment of Denise Suss, Ginger Stevens, Don Quiner, Ruth Radke, Sarah Miller to be members of this Special Events Commission.
A motion to pass these appointments.
Motion Paul, second, was it Jeff? Any discussion?
Thank you for serving.
Yeah, thank you
Yes,
very
thank
much
you.
for serving.
Terry, call the roll, please.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Humper.
Yes.
Savi.
Yes.
Trustee Ritter.
Yes.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Well, Pat, looks like you're ready to roll. We have
Yeah.
one opening, and I actually have somebody who has applied for that, and I'll be talking to her tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll have the last member of the commission on there by next meeting. I would say, though, that this is probably one where people could just volunteer to come and help on
Absolutely.
specific events.
Yeah.
So even if you're not a commission member, if you have some time to spare, or if one of the events, when Pat has a list of events and she can present them, if one of them sounds of special interest to you, volunteers will
Yeah.
always be welcome.
Yeah.
So you can
Yeah.
jump
Our
right in.
meetings will be open to the public, and our first meeting, I think, will be February 24th on a Wednesday, and then, like all the committees, will set the calendar for the meetings for the rest of the year, and then they'll be published, and certainly anybody's welcome to come, so you'd be more than welcome, so
Okay.
let's use more hands.
Next item is, I'm sorry, do we have any speakers tonight? No public comment. Consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of those items unless the trustee so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. I do have one item that I will not be removing for discussion, but item C, the Oddfellows were not able to get everything ready for a presentation tonight. So we're going to take item C off of that. Now, are there any items to be removed by trustees?
A motion to pass the consent agenda without item C.
I'll second.
Motion Paul, second Pat. Terry, call the roll, please.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Humper.
Yes.
Trustee Savi.
Yes.
Trustee Ritter.
Yes.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Old business, we have none. New business. Resolution accepting the Fox River Corridor Plan. Did I miss something here?
Manager's report.
Manager's report.
There are no manager's report tonight from the staff.
That was hiding at the bottom of my page here.
That's
Sorry
it.
about that. No reports?
No report.
Pat, any report this evening? You've got 2 shots at this.
Yeah, well, I just announced the first meeting for the events committee, and then I think we'll be having our first, our recessed Parks Committee meeting will be, and I apologize, I don't have it in front of me, I think it's the second Monday in March. If that's the 9th, I'm not sure. Is it, Paul? Yeah,
believe it is,
so
yeah.
we'll be having our first meeting back for that, so. And we'll be welcoming a new member to that committee also. 2, I believe, as a matter of fact, so looking forward to it.
Audit and Finance met on February 9th at 6:30, and we had quite an agenda. It took a few hours to get through some lively discussion. We started off by approving the meeting schedule for the year, and we moved on to capital projects, where Ed Sizlowski and Kevin Gray went through a number of projects that we'd be working on, and we made some recommendations based off of that. Quite a bit of discussion on lane miles, what we were going to be working on, where our priorities might lie within these capital improvement projects. We also discussed the installation of a berm at the Public Works building to help reduce noise so that we can become better neighbors for the surrounding houses, since that's a building that does have 24-hour capabilities. Some of the neighbors have showed concern about the level of noise there, so we've come up with some innovative solutions to use some of the dirt that we were already producing to produce this berm, so we have sort of a two-way solution that's working for us there. We also discussed Carpenter Park at length. We discussed what we wanted to do moving forward, and that's really, that dovetails into a much larger discussion about the finances and the budget status at the state of Illinois, since that's really what is holding up Carpenter Park and the Oslot grant. So we talked about that quite a bit. There was a recommendation made to hold steady, and we were given assurances that the money is secure. It's in a portion of the budget, even though it isn't approved yet, but it's in a portion that hasn't been allocated towards anything else. The anticipation is still that money will go towards Carpenter Park. So with that in mind, we're moving forward with a recommendation of staying the course for Carpenter Park. And we will be revisiting it in April. This will be something that will be on every audit and finance agenda until it is resolved. And I'm sure we'll have quite a few more board reports about that, just beyond audit and finance too, as the situation develops. We also went through some of the financial numbers for the year thus far. Everything looks pretty good. A good job by the staff of budgeting conservatively but accurately. So that's good to see as well. And that pretty much covered it.
And the next meeting?
The next meeting is April, was it 23rd?
12.
April 12th, yeah, 6:30.
Paul?
The Business Development Commission will have a meeting next Tuesday. I believe we're still shooting for 6:30. It'll be on the second floor. I was going to announce that I saw we got through eBiz that the Dominic's is up for auction on Randall Road, and I believe that's going to be sometime in March. Was it the 9th, I believe it was? Was when the auction will take place, so I thought I'd announce that, and let's hope somebody buys that and actually does something with that building. So, but e-business is working well, so I really appreciate that that's back up and running. But we'll have our next Business Development Commission meeting on Tuesday next week.
Don?
Thank you. As far as Quadcom and Jets, the next board meeting is February 24th. So hopefully to be able to attend that. Chelke's Creek Fox River Watershed Coalition, I just wanted to show you, I got kind of a preliminary sign for Carpenter Creek here in the village that we showed that to everybody that I've worked on with Bob. We hope to get those, I'm sure that we'll get those approved, but you'll not only be seeing them at, Carpenter Creek, but some other creeks in the area. anything in the Jelkies Creek watershed, and which is part of the Fox River watershed. So we hope to get that done soon and get the signs up. And thought it came out real well. It's kind of a I like the blue color on it, and it's kind of we took it from Crystal Lake, had this similar design with the waters in front, but they didn't have the orange sun, and I like that. And that was Bob's idea. Thank you, sir. Excellent. That's all.
That it then? For reports, so, get myself on new business. New business, resolution accepting the Fox River Corridor Plan prepared by the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. So I assume we're going to have a presentation on that before we
Yes, and
take.
Is there a resolution we need to
Well,
approve?
which order do we do this? Presentation or?
do the resolution.
I'll motion to
Okay.
pass the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, motion and second. The motion, Paul, second, Kevin. So now you can make your presentation.
I'm going to introduce Brian Daly in just a minute from CMAP. He's got all the details on the presentation. Just a brief background as a reminder, late in, early May, early 2014, March, April, May timeframe, the village entered into agreement, MOU, with Algonquin and CMAP to do the Fox River Corridor study to improve leisure activities and planning throughout the corridor. So there's a steering committee formed, if you recall, and the first meeting was conducted in late 2014. And CMAP has been doing the majority of the study. So the steering committee's met. Everybody's discussed all the options, and the plan was provided in draft in 2015, late 2015, about November timeframe. And so we've been in the process of going through the adoption. Algonquin adopted it mid-December, and now CMAP's here. Mr. Daly's going to present the details of the plan and go through it with you at this time. So to not be redundant, I'll turn it over to Mr. Daly.
Thank you, Mark. As he said, I'm Brian Daly. I'm an associate planner with CMAP, which is the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. By now, I'm sure the village of Carpentersville is very familiar with our work. We've been happy to work with the village on a number of occasions on a number of different projects. Today, I'll be talking to you a little bit about what we did with the Fox River Corridor Plan. So I'd like to thank Mark and his predecessor, Joe Wade, who helped us kick off the project, as well as President Ritter and the village staff and village officials who were open to us and working with us throughout this process. So I'll go over a little bit of where we came from here. As Mark said, it was a joint application from the villages of Algonquin and Carpentersville. Both villages had recently completed plans for their downtown areas, Old Town Carpentersville and historic downtown Algonquin, through CMAP's local technical assistance program. And both plans talked about focusing on the opportunities presented by the river itself to help attract people and businesses to the downtowns, improve recreational opportunities, bicycle and pedestrian mobility through the downtowns and between the downtowns, and we wanted to look at how we could use that and stitch those two downtowns together using this unique corridor that's defined by the river and the bike trail. So the existing plans both see the Fox River as an asset and are both seeking similar things for their downtown areas, which is to say mixed-use, walkable downtown. Algonquin completed their plan in 2013. The Old Town Carpentersville plan was in 2012. And since then, both villages have been very active in implementing those plans, which is great. And we see this River Corridor plan as another step in helping to implement those downtown plans. For the purposes of this study, we wanted to focus pretty closely along the river itself. So for the study area, we essentially just looked at parcels that adjoin the river, plus a small area of unincorporated Kane County that's in between the Fox River Trail and the river itself. We didn't want to reinvent the wheel when it came to the downtowns. We see this as supporting what was spelled out in the downtown plans and the Old Town plan. So we were really focusing on, within that area, what can you do at the riverfront to help bring that to life. So the study area was about a 7-mile stretch. You'll recognize at the southern end, it's basically the southern limit of the village of Carpentersville, going up through the area in Old Town where Auto Engineering's facilities are on both sides of the river. A little bit north of Old Town Carpentersville is the Carpentersville Dam. We knew going into this that the dam was going to be a major focus of the study. And then there are many, many acres of preserved open space by the Forest Preserve District of Kane County, and then the village of Algonquin, and north of that is the Fox Bluff Conservation Area, which is a holding of the McHenry County Conservation District. And both the Bruner Family Preserve in Kane County and the Fox Bluff Conservation Area were going through master planning activities at this time. So there was a lot of good planning activity happening here, and what we really were doing was stitching all that together. So the process, we had several public meetings and a public survey that was conducted online. We had really great turnout and participation at every meeting that we had here. All told, we had almost 700 people participate in the process. About 450 of those were through the online survey. We had a public kickoff in the summer of 2014, a public visioning workshop that was held at the Carpentersville Public Works facility in January 2015. In the intervening time, we at CMAP were conducting our existing conditions analysis, which involved talking to stakeholders, talking to business owners, residents, environmental and paddling and bicycling advocates. And based on that existing conditions analysis that we did, plus the visioning activity with the community, we were able to sketch out a vision for this plan, and then the plan itself provides some more detailed recommendations and implementation steps on how to achieve that vision. So to just briefly go over the existing conditions, and if you're interested, there's a longer report that's available on the project website. That's a full existing conditions report that goes into detail. But to give you some of the highlights, as far as the governance structure, this is a project that crossed many jurisdictional boundaries. As a regional planning agency, we're excited for any opportunity to work across those boundaries. So working with 2 different municipalities, 2 different counties, and then the Conservation District and Forest Preserve District, the Dundee Township Park District, all were represented on our steering committee. There's also a large number of very active environmental advocacy groups working in the Fox River, so we're happy to interface with them as well. The land use is dominated by open space, but that's particularly in the area between the 2 downtowns, and there are opportunities potentially to implement greater amounts of public open space in the downtown areas. As far as transportation goes, there's a very popular bike path that connects the 2 downtowns, but there are some traffic and roadway features that can make the pedestrian environment a little bit difficult in the downtowns. And as far as environmental resources go, we knew from the beginning, and we heard from a lot of people, that water quality was a major issue, and that the potential removal of the Carpentersville Dam could be one way to help ameliorate that. So the vision is broken into 5 main parts: a connected Fox River, a recreational Fox River, a natural Fox River, a clean Fox River, and a vibrant Fox River. To help achieve that vision, the plan includes 4 chapters, one on open space and recreation, one on natural resources and the environment, one on placemaking and economic development, and one on transportation and mobility. And within each of those chapters, we have sub-recommendations as well as implementation steps that identify partners who could help the villages achieve those, potential funding sources, and some phasing recommendations for what could be short-term and long-term goals. The recommendations for natural resources and the environment, for one, are to pursue collaborative environmental improvement efforts. There's only so much that any one village can do to improve water quality in a river that runs for over 200 miles in 2 states. But thankfully, there are some current groups that are working on plans to help reduce pollution in the river, reduce the dissolved oxygen levels. So we identify some of these groups, namely the Fox River Study Group, which is finalizing its implementation plan now. the Fox River Ecosystem Partnership, and we go into some of the things that can be done collaboratively to help improve water quality, such as green stormwater infrastructure, like I know the village is already pursuing along Carpenter Creek, the planting of native vegetation, education for landowners along the river. And then the big thing is supporting the removal of the Carpentersville Dam. At about the midpoint of this project, the Forest Preserve District had an agreement with the State Department of Natural Resources on funding to study the removal of the dam and ultimately remove it. Like many things at the state level, that's currently on hold, but the potential benefits, both to public safety for people traveling on the river by canoe or kayak, as well as for water quality in terms of allowing better passage for aquatic species, lowering the dissolved oxygen level, and just restoring something of the natural flow of the river. We're pretty clear, and the Forest Preserve District is behind it, and IDNR is behind it, so we represent continuing to work towards that. Algonquin Dam, on the other hand, is slated to stay. That's still used actively to control the water level going up towards the chain of lakes. So that's actively used and is not expected to go anywhere. For open space and recreation, one that's certainly relevant to the village of Carpentersville is to plan for changes to the site of the Carpentersville Dam. Although that's a Kane County Forest Preserve site, we know it's commonly used by Carpentersville residents. If the dam is removed, there won't be many changes to the water level of the river as a whole, but right at the site of the dam, it would become a little bit narrower. So just working to preserve public access there, safe access, since it is a popular spot that's accessible by both the bike trail and by the parking lot, and preserving some opportunities for anglers to fish at the base, at what's now the base of the dam. Exploring the addition of new recreational amenities in both villages, as well as in the Forest Preserve districts in between. Improving canoe and kayak launches and portages. There's a range of styles of launch within this area, some which are paved and maintained, others which are really just dirt ramps that are commonly used for boat launches. There are some standards some design standards and best practices that could be implemented, particularly around dams, to make sure that people know when a dam is coming, where they can put out, and where they can put back in. Along those lines, we also recommend being involved in a current effort that's going on there is a bi-state group in Wisconsin and Illinois pursuing a Fox River water trail plan. They have assistance from the National Park Service for this, and they are looking at ways to improve access to the Fox River for its whole length, and eventually are hoping to apply for designation as a national water trail, which is a great way to attract more paddlers to the area to use the river. And then supporting motorized boating north of Algonquin Dam. It should remain canoes and kayaks in between the dams and south of Carpentersville, but above Algonquin Dam, motorboating is still a popular activity, so we have some recommendations about that. For transportation and circulation, we have a map of some bike connections that people told us they were interested in. Many of these are to other regional open space, such as Raceway Woods, some nature preserves like Dixie Briggs. So there's some trail connections like that. We also have some recommendations for improving safety at pedestrian crossings like at Main Street in Carpentersville, things that aren't structural, just about better lighting, clearer signage, and ways to make the drivers aware that they're crossing a popular bike path. And investing in walkability, that's really some general policy recommendations for things that a village can do to improve the pedestrian environment in a downtown area. The other element of the transportation and circulation plan was related to the Longmeadow Parkway. We knew going into this project that was a proposal that was likely to move forward. We heard from a lot of citizens on this issue on both sides of it. So we tried to provide recommendations that would allow the plan to move forward regardless of what decisions are made locally about that project. We foresee it going forward. So we have some recommendations for how it can integrate bicycle and pedestrian access and stormwater management, but mostly we just want people to stay at the table, to stay engaged with that as it moves forward. And the final chapter was on placemaking and economic development, really looking at ways that the riverfront as a recreational site, as a destination, can be used to bring people downtown. We know that there's ongoing plans in both villages right now to look at ways to implement their downtown plans. So we just recommend that any ongoing work there aligns with the content of this plan to see where there are parallels and where there are things that can be complementary. For example, if there's a TIF district, aligning the investments there with the recommendations of this plan and the existing downtown plans. We also mentioned some particular businesses that can draw on the unique benefits of this location. For example, Main Street Bicycles in Old Town Carpentersville is a great example of a well-located business that draws on the recreational assets here. There is no outfitter anywhere along this river corridor that rents out canoes or kayaks. We heard from a lot of people that that's something they would love to see. So that's a type of business that it may be worth exploring, attracting someone from the region who might want to locate by the river. Drawing people to the river through programming and open space, special events, whether those are movies in the park or food truck festivals, anything that really just takes advantage of this unique place and brings people in. Also marketing the Fox River Corridor as an outdoor destination, both for paddling and bicycling, as well as for bird watching and other activities in the forest preserve. We know that those high-quality natural lands there that are preserved attract a lot of people, and then it's just a matter of helping to get those people from the forest preserves into the downtown areas. To that end, we have some recommendations for developing signage and wayfinding to connect the downtowns to the forest preserves, and just let people know that they're close to downtown businesses and downtown amenities. So there are a couple of ongoing plans that have come somewhat out of this one. One is the one I mentioned, the Fox River Ecosystem Partnership's Fox River Water Trail. CMAP is advising on that process, as is SewerPAC, which is our sister agency for the Milwaukee area. So I'd encourage anyone who's interested to keep an eye on that as they start to have. They're pretty early in the process, but they'll start having some events in the coming months. And also McHenry County has applied and received another LTA grant to continue Fox River planning with CMAP. That is still in the scoping processes. We're not sure exactly where in McHenry County the next corridor plan will be. It won't be for the whole length of the river. It may be the length just above this. It may be somewhere closer to a historic downtown, but we're looking forward to continuing what's been a really fun and interesting project for us.
Questions? Pat?
You mentioned the kayak and canoe rental.
Yes.
I think that we probably kind of mentioned a little bit amongst ourselves. I think one of our neighbors is already looking into that. But
Great.
When you're looking at that area, though, is there any way to strategically look and see where we could place a business like that? Our riverfront park is kind of narrow down there. I don't know
Sure.
that there's a space to put in such a business.
Sure. I'll admit I don't know the details of what they would be looking for. I would say if you can identify similar businesses along other rivers in the area. I know there are some along the Chicago River downtown. There may be some, I think in Naperville, there are some along the Des Plaines River. Mm-hmm. If you could talk to some of those business owners about what it is that they look for in their siting, that might be helpful. They may not have to locate right in the riverfront park as long as there's some agreement for access, but I wouldn't presume to know the details of what they would need.
Okay.
But that's a great question.
Okay, thank you.
Paul?
So thank you for coming today and providing this presentation. And I'm happy to see there's some things that we've talked about on the business development side that are very similar to what you've brought up, walkability and development of a downtown area. Is there any, would there be any grant money available through CMAP that we might be able to take advantage of to help possibly move some of those plans forward?
Great question. There are the funding opportunities that CMAP programs are mostly related to transportation infrastructure, particularly if there's anything related to, bike lanes, bike paths, sidewalk improvements. That's something that CMAP could help with directly. As far as some of the other things, we could probably help connect you with other grants. We could write letters of support, but the only money sources that CMAP has direct influence over are transportation related.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. The walkability was something that really caught my eye. That's something we've discussed at length within business development, trying to make that downtown area in Carpentersville somewhat, to be able to walk throughout, not only from the mall, but to the riverfront. So
Sure, yeah.
any way we can, foster that type of ability to do that, considering the hill that's there, it'd be kind of tough, but I don't know if we're looking for gondola rides or anything like that, but at least a staircase would be nice, But yeah, we'd certainly like to take a look to see if there was any potential to secure some grant money, maybe get those types of things put in place. Thank you.
Sure.
Don?
And how can people get a hold of this plan or look at it, or?
So there's a project website that is available through CMAP's website. I believe there's a link to it from somewhere on the Village of
On the village
Carpentersville's-
website, and I'll just talk to Kevin about making it one of the more upfront, which he'll do because it was presented tonight, and we'll, absolutely. And thank you again for being here.
My pleasure.
Other questions? Just, Pat, what you were asking about canoe rental. Yeah, before I was on the board, I thought about doing that because even before they take the dam out, we still have a good canoeing river. But basically what you'd have to have is someplace where there's a lot of parking.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to even be right on the river, but
Okay.
people will park there. They get transported up to like Buffalo Park with the canoes.
Oh, okay.
They get dropped in and they get picked up, let's say, down in West Dundee at their park that's right
Okay.
on the river and brought back to the parking lot. And they just continue to move the boats back and forth. Pick up a load of people, pick up a load of boats, drop them off, pick them up on the other end, and just keep repeating the cycle. That's the way a lot of canoe places, I've seen them in other
Is
rivers.
that a-
I'm sure some of you others that may have seen that
Is that
as
a
well,
big
but-
footprint, Ed, as far as you need a lot of space to store the canoes and the
No,
kayaks?
they're vertical.
Yeah, okay, so you don't need a
Well,
real
yeah,
big building?
You need
Okay.
some space to make it work, but the storage, yeah, you can store them vertically. You have to have transporters and in
Oh,
some way to
yeah.
get people up and down, like
Yeah.
vans or buses. So somebody who's an entrepreneur invests some money in the right kind of equipment, and
Yeah.
then hopefully people come, especially the longer the canoeing route, the better it gets. So when the dam goes out and they don't have the portage anymore, and now you're up to maybe a 6 or 7 mile run, whereas before it was only a couple mile run.
Yeah,
So
yeah, okay, thank you.
that's the key. The longer
Yeah.
you can go, and then obviously if they finish this corridor all the way up from someplace up in Wisconsin where you could canoe for miles and miles,
Yeah.
then you're really getting into something where you'd see a lot of canoes then, because there would be a lot of people who would do that like as overnight canoeing,
Yeah.
either by camping or staying at a hotel that's close to the river, like the Holiday Inn down in Elgin is close to the river. Well, relatively close, but I'm sure there would be, that kind of business would really be nice.
Yeah.
It has people coming to eat and sleep and so forth when you're going on a 100-mile canoe trip. But anyway, that's here nor there. My entrepreneurial side is showing up here, but I don't think I'd do it as long as I'm president. Any other questions? Otherwise, or any discussion from the
One
board
more.
before we?
I just have one other thing. I think it's incumbent on us when we move forward with this, assuming that we do. There's a bit of a gap between how people perceive the Fox River and how it actually is now because of how rapidly it has been improving. I'm an avid paddler. I own a couple kayaks and I go often. And I used to skip over the Fox River because of low oxygen level, very muddy, very silty bottom. But the past, I'd say, 10 years or so, the water quality has improved so much that we're starting to see smallmouth bass again in our area, and that's a very good canary in the coal mine type indicator that the water quality is coming back and coming back quickly, and it's a strong indicator. And that'll really help with the paddling, because a number of people that go paddling, like myself, they do it to go fishing. So that's another reason why I've typically skipped over Carpentersville. Illinois DNR, they conduct surveys, and they just go up and down the waterways and lakes, and they shock the water, and they count what fish come up. And it was really, really surprising to see the number of smallmouth bass, and some of them even blue ribbon-sized smallmouth bass between Algonquin and Carpentersville Dam. I didn't think there were hardly any, but the survey results said the opposite tale. So moving forward with this, I think it's really incumbent on us to portray the facts with what the Fox River has become. It used to be something that we couldn't promote because it was used for dumping industrial waste. It was low oxygen, silty, and that's been changing thanks to the way we've been treating the water quality in northern Illinois. So now's the time to promote the Fox River. It's definitely there for our entertainment now, and it wasn't in the past.
Thank you. Any other comments? Otherwise, we have a motion on the table, unless there's discussion on the motion itself, or resolution, rather. Motion on a resolution. I'll get it right. Yeah. Terry, call the roll.
Trustee Humper?
Yes.
Trustee Savi?
Yes.
Trustee Rayburn?
Yes.
Trustee Schultz?
Yes.
Trustee Burway?
Yes.
Trustee Stevens?
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming this evening.
Thank
Pleasure
you. It
listening
was-
to your report.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure to work on this project. It was a really fun and interesting opportunity. So thanks again to the village.
Thank you. Thank you.
Have a safe drive.
Thanks.
Okay, well, we're ready for trustee reports. Start with Paul tonight.
Okay, so I mentioned earlier about the Dominics going up, and I want to get the dates right now, because I did find the email. They're going to be showing the Dominics on Tuesday, March 8th, and on Wednesday, March 16th, so that second date is right, Pat, for the previous March Wednesday that you're going to have your first meeting. But the meeting, the showing times will be from 9:30 to 10 a.m., and the starting bid is about $600,000 on that, and this is the old Dominick's building that's on Randall Road. So the actual bidding will take place, or the auction, I should say, will take place between March 21st and March 23rd. So if you know anybody who'd be interested, please send them. We'd like something in that building other than spiders. So
That's a significant drop, Paul, too. I mean, it's a good starting point. I was telling Ed, I think on Realtor.com, last year or something, I think they were trying to ask like $4 million. So, when you figure all the utilities are there, that huge parking lot, I mean, some rehabbing, somebody could really get a bargain. So
I'm sure that if we're pretty motivated to try to get something in that building, that we'd work with whoever bought that, because that parking lot does need some assistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a great place to take my kids to have them learn how to drive, but even then, it's a rough parking lot, even for a bike ride. So some work will need to be done there, but I mean, I'm not trying to throw out any dollar amounts. All I'm saying is that we'd be entertaining to, or willing to listen to ideas to have that building be occupied. So.
Well, I wouldn't want to give out wrong information. I think unless I remember wrong, the parking lot does not go with the building. The parking lot is owned by the person who owns the rest of the strip mall. So that's one of those things they have to negotiate. But,
sure.
At this point, I'm pretty sure it's owned by the developer, not the building itself. They only own, only the building is for sale. Although in this case, as bad as that parking lot is, maybe it wouldn't want to buy the parking lot as it is. So we'll see, but that is a good sign. Well, anyway, anything else, Paul?
That's it. That's all I had tonight. Thank you.
Jeff?
I just wanted to say thanks to Public Works. I think they're doing a great job. I hit a pothole a couple of weeks ago and talked to Kevin, and it was fixed the next day. So I think they are definitely on it. If you are out and have a problem with a pothole, see it. Obviously, there's a lot of things with plows and stuff this year. Public Works is very responsive. They want to get that stuff fixed. They want our streets well, and we appreciate that. Also, thank you for the great presentation on the berm behind the Public Works building the other night. We had some complaints from residents, and they came up with a plan, and I think it's an excellent one. Still keeping the tree line, so it's still going to look good from the outside. I think it's a wonderful plan you came up with. And then just last, for anybody who wants to know what's going on in Carpentersville, obviously these meetings are one thing, but the audit and finance meeting is the place to be. Went to the audit and finance last week, and these are where we're discussing what's going on with your tax dollars, where the money is spent, how we're spending it, what we're using it for, and it's really the lifeblood of what's going on here. So if you get a chance and you're interested in Carpentersville, try to make it out to an audit and finance meeting. Thank you.
No report from me this evening.
Pat?
I wanted to say thank you to Bob, since he will be our liaison, not only to the parks, but also to the events committee now. And I appreciate everything that you've put together so far, Bob. And hopefully it will be easy to do, I think, to navigate with some of the events. I'm hoping, at any rate. And I wanted to say thank you to the board, and of course to Mark and the staff for their support for this events committee. It's kind of overdue, and I know the park is up in the air. The question as to whether or not it'll get constructed or not, but we'll figure something out. And some of the folks that had events in the park were actually looking in other communities. So, like the Odd Fellows, I was glad that we were able to, get a hold of them and talk to them. Of course, they're scrambling a little bit. Sarah Miller is here. She'll be on our events committee. I was telling her in the foyer, before the holidays, these people are already looking way into the summer to book things. So they're kind of scrambling a little bit to get a carnival, to get a date. But nevertheless, they want to be in town. They're a part of town, and looking forward to it. And I thank everybody for their support. And I hope we have some fun down there. I really do. So got some really great ideas coming up, and looking forward to some new ones also. And I also, too, wanted to say it was a great Audit and Finance Committee meeting. It was great to see, get updates on the projects, and see what we're doing. Kevin and Ed always do a great job for presentations. So, and we missed you, Paul. So I need to tell them, Audit and Finance, they're open to everybody. Everyone can come. We heard that for years. So, but it was very good, very informative. So, and that would conclude my report. Thank you.
Don?
Yeah, actually, nothing tonight.
Ginger?
I just have one thing, and I'm gonna send out a date for one of the events that we have. I think the first one that we have coming up is June 11th. That's the community yard sale. So I do this now so that you can go through all your closets, through the garage,
Yeah.
all of the stuff hiding underneath the couch and the beds and everything, and get them ready to go.
Yeah.
June
Thank you,
11th.
Ginger. That's right, June 11th. Yeah. So.
That it?
That's it.
I could probably bring a semi-load of stuff down there. I'm a bad one for collecting things, but here nor there. Okay, several items. First of all, just this evening, I believe the trustees got the same thing. Northwest Municipal Conference tracks the state legislature and the bills that are being processed, and we already got a list of 57 bills that are of concern to villages around the state. And I'm on the legislative committee for Northwest Municipal, so I have a meeting tomorrow morning, and we'll be going over this list of 57 and trying to see how they would affect each and every village that's in the northwest corner of the state, which is why it's for the Northwest Municipal Conference, all the way from Carpentersville all the way up to the border of Wisconsin is represented by this group. And so that's one of our main jobs at the legislative committee, is to look at every one of these and shape what the position of the villages should be on this legislation, especially things that might cost us money or might put undue burden on the villages to that unfunded mandate thing, or things that would put us at a competitive disadvantage, et cetera. So we'll look at the first 57 and come up with stuff, and then as new legislation is proposed, with bills come up, they kind of like rabbits, they just start multiplying. We'll take a look at every single one and come up with a position that we think will best suit all of the villages in our area. So that's an ongoing process, especially in the spring, like this when people are putting in bills. I already saw a couple of them that were just goofy. That's the only thing I do is describe it as goofy. Somebody must have owed somebody a favor, and they're writing a bill for that person to get some service or another, and we get a lot of those. But they don't just apply it to that one person, they apply it to everybody. So we start seeing a lot of that stuff. I did receive a letter to the board, and I'd like to read that at this time. Dear Mr. Ritter and board members, it is with great humility that I write to thank you for naming me as the 2015 Volunteer of the Year for the Village of Carpentersville. I'm not sure that I'm deserving of this award, but I gratefully accept it. Fish Food Pantry has been an integral part of the village for the past 45 years, assisting over 30,000 of our residents each year with much-needed food. It is our hope that we will continue our relationship for many years to come. Thank you so much for your recognition of me, our pantry, and its mission to feed the hungry. And it's signed by Mary Graziano. I really appreciated her sending us that letter. Her award was well-deserved, and it was nice of her to write back to us. And then since Jeff mentioned about potholes, this is a place where our residents really can be very helpful. You can actually go online and list a pothole that on your street and approximately where it is, and that saves us having to go around and have the police call in reports and so forth and so on. This is a very direct way to send a report right to Kevin Gray or Bob Cole, and they'll get it. Same thing is true of street lights. If it bugs you that your street light is out, it is a real simple process. I had one in front of my house about 7 or 8 months ago, and I put it in, and over time it got fixed. Now, street lights are a little bit different, especially the ones that are with ComEd, because they won't come out for one light. Am I correct on that? They wait till there's 4 or 5 lights or 6 lights. Sometimes they'll come right out, but other times they'll wait till they have a number of them before they'll send a crew. So street lights don't necessarily get us fixed as fast because we're not fixing them. If we were taking care of them, they'd get done right away. But since we have to depend on ComEd, send the report. Some, yeah, there's a mixture. We have a lot of decorative lights that we take care of. A lot of the big pole lights are ComEd, and some of them are even, there's some around by Denny's over there that I think are by a private company or something, around the mall area that are, so there are different ways, but as long as you report them, eventually we'll be able to get to them. So same thing with potholes, especially now, it's pothole season. So let us get our hot patch mixer out there and fix these up properly the first time and not have to fix them 3 or 4 times. Board remembers we did that a few years ago. We got them a hot patch mixer so they can actually heat the stuff, put it in just like they would fix it in the summer, and it lasts much longer than the cold patch that can get beat out and back in the street in a matter of days. So with that, I'll conclude my remarks, and we're ready for a closed session for items 2C1 and 2C2 of the Open Meetings Act. And I would need a motion. Motion, Ginger.
Second.
Second, Jeff. Any discussion? If not, Terry, call the roll.
Trustee Sabi.
Yes.
Trustee Rayburg.
Yes.
Trustee Schultz.
Yes.
Trustee Burroway.
Yes.
Trustee Stevens.
Yes.
Trustee Humper.
Yes.
And we will reconvene to discuss some other village business after the close of the, or after the end of the closed session. So adjourn to